Today I want to share my story of how I overcame lots of personal obstacles to finally master something that I had been practicing for years and years with very little results. So, hello there, I'm Chris, to those of you who don't know me, and the thing I'm speaking about here is what has become my number one tool for creating cool atmospheres when soloing and jamming. So basically, including diminished arpeggios and runs into your playing and into your regular rock and blues soloing. The problem I had been facing was, I learned from, I think it was that first Yngwie Malmsteen REH video where he did that. And here's a diminished arpeggio. I was like, whoa, a diminished arpeggio. And I tried to play that. And after lots of struggling, this was like 15 years ago, I could play the thing, but I had no idea how to use it. I was under the impression that you had to play diminished arpeggios only under very special circumstances. And I didn't know what those circumstances were, so I never played them. I still practiced them because, I heard that was something you were supposed to know, and something my heroes would use. I just didn't understand how and when I would use it. But later on, I finally understood that, okay, the diminished arpeggio fits into the harmonic minor scale. Okay, so I need to find some kind of track, some kind of musical situation which calls for the harmonic minor, and then I can finally get to play my diminished arpeggios. And although that's technically correct, I also found that extremely limiting because most of the time I was not jamming over the harmonic minor scale. In fact, I was jamming over standard kind of rock, metal track with minor or major tonality or maybe a blues. And I still had no idea how to make use of that diminished thing which I had practiced so much. But the years progressed, and I got older, and I'm approaching death. Just kidding. But anyhow, I started realizing that, well, if I want to use this before I die, then I probably figure out some way to kind of include that in my playing. And I think the thing that changed it for me was understanding how diminished chords are pretty much, I wouldn't say randomly, but you can use them anywhere within like a jazzy progression. You can really make a diminished chord fit in anywhere. It's the equivalent of like your passing tone in the pentatonic scale. You can play your blues bass, and you can also add stuff in between that's not contained within the pentatonic board. And that's gonna give you basically new color. And you can do the same thing with diminished chords. So I was like, okay, so if you can do that with diminished chords, and after all, an arpeggio, it's just, those are chord notes, right? But you don't play them all at once, whatever, you play them separated. So if you can play those chords anywhere, then maybe I can play my arpeggios anywhere. So I was like, whoa, no, that can't be true. And I was like, okay, let's play them anywhere. So I would do a bit of... No, that didn't work. Okay. I tried it a whole bunch of times. And I went back to studying the chords thing. And then I realized that when these diminished chords work, it's because they have a function in the chord progression. So in other words, you're going from one bass note to another and you're squeezing in like a passing diminished chord, or you maybe have like a melody that you're playing on top, and a part of that diminished chord note makes up for the melody or makes up for a cool transition between melody notes. And I've never really been a jazz player at all, so I couldn't really apply that to whatever I wanted to do. But I thought, well, I do like to improvise with melodies, so maybe I can do the same, and maybe just... And then it just totally clicked. Aha. I can have a little bit of diminished, and then I can go back to my scale, provided that there is some kind of connection between that diminished arpeggio and whatever I'm doing in my regular scale. So just to give you this basic example, if we're in E minor, so either you can think of it as like E minor pentatonic or the E minor scale. Whatever. So you have those notes and you would play a melody, right? But then you would somewhere in there throw in a diminished arpeggio and make it sound like it's part of what you're doing, right? So maybe you could go down and play. And there you have a part. This is like a broken up diminished arpeggio. So playing 11 on the G string, 14, and then 13 on the B string. And then back to 12, 12. And there you can hear how the diminished, those diminished notes add tension and they contribute to whatever you're playing. Now, this kind of thing is still pretty far from, what I told you that I was practicing 15 years ago from that Yngwie video. So I was still not, that close to actually utilizing all those arpeggios that I had spent years practicing. But this was a seed. It was a starting point. And I think if you're watching this and thinking what you're going to do with diminished arpeggios and stuff like that, I think the lesson to be learned at this point is that you don't really have to spend lots of time mastering the fancy stuff. Just try to play like I did here, 3 or maybe 4 notes of like a diminished arpeggio, or even like a diminished scale, though that's a different story. And see if you can fit that into your regular stuff, because it does fit. And the notes don't even have to be contained within the scale. They can be outside as long as you resolve or go back to those notes you're comfortable with. So that's, I think, these days when I'm learning new scales, I just learn them like, if it's a 7-note scale, I still just learn maybe 4 or 5 notes and try to hear how that sounds different from, like say, if I'm playing the minor scale and I try the melodic minor scale, I just play that, the major 6 and the major 7 to hear how it sounds different. I don't practice it, all over the neck. And I think that's a good lesson to be learned from this. But it doesn't really stop here, because now I still wanted to weave in the cool stuff, right? That kind of thing. How could I make that fit? So again, I was resorting back to my, minor scale, E minor. And I knew that there was this harmonic minor connection. But I didn't really know how to make use of it without waiting for the, you have that 5 chord in like a minor chord progression, and then if you have the 5 or a dominant chord on the 5th scale degree, that would call for harmonic minor. But I didn't want to wait, and I just wanted to play, right? So what I did was I kind of pretended that there was something harmonic minor happening. So I played like the regular E minor position here, but then I would slide down to the 11th fret and play my diminished arpeggio for a little bit longer. Maybe I would do and then get back. So it was like this kind of prolonged version of the very first melody I showed you. Okay, so that made a bit more sense. It's still not that melodic, but at least I'm going in and out of diminished arpeggio, and it somewhat works. It works to my ears, and that's what matters, because that's what you can build on. I don't like, just learning someone else's stuff because that's supposed to work. I want to feel how it works for me, because I know that if I can make that connection with whatever I'm learning, then it will be usable for me. Otherwise, It's just going to be a trick that I could bring up, but I can't really make it my own. I can't build upon it. I can't turn that one piece of knowledge into 10 new things that are usable. So that's why I always try to kind of digest things and understand them according to me and not, according to someone else. So let's do that a little bit more. Playing some E minor here. Let's make it more melodic. Still have that fast run, but here's some melody. Can you hear how I'm going in and out? So if I just play the E or E pentatonic, nothing super fancy there, but if I do, and then I resolve to E minor. Now I know this went by fast, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give you some links to scale diagrams, and you can see exactly what it did, both the simplified version and an example of how I combine like the longer diminished arpeggio with the E minor scale or the E minor pentatonic scale. And you can try it a little bit on your own, and I really recommend the easiest way is usually if you have a few rock licks or even blues licks, use that as a starting point. So I would, when I finally understood this, I would do something like, your standard SRV, whatever, rock and blues licks. And then go into the diminished arpeggio, and it just sounds awesome. It just gives you that color. And I also should say that part of the reason why it took such a long time, I believe, is because my ears were not really ready for this stuff. I was totally happy just playing minor and major scale, mostly minor and pentatonic scale. That's what I wanted to hear. That's what I thought sounded cool. But I think something happened with age and death approaching that you get a little bit tired of the same old sounds. And I was always under the belief that, well, you can do anything within the minor and major scale. I mean, just listen to all those great songs that are done with only those scales. They sound different from each other and they sound amazing. There's so much to discover. And while that is true, it is also true that you can get a huge inspirational boost by trying new notes, new scales. And I think all of this together has kind of resulted in this realization of mine that, hey, I can actually use this stuff now. I've been practicing it for a long time, but I'm ready to include this stuff in a melodic way so that it kind of serves a purpose and a function for whatever I'm doing. So I hope this makes sense. I know this can get a little bit complicated because, if you don't know a lot about harmonic minor and diminished and whatnot, but I still think that the basic examples I'm going to give you, again, they'll be below the video here, are going to be enough for you to just try this out and hear, yeah, this makes sense. Maybe I should practice the diminished arpeggio a little bit. I can throw it in my, blues jamming, and you can. That's the whole point. You can definitely use this stuff, and it can definitely enhance basically the amount of colors you have at your disposal. It never hurts to have a good, new, useful tool. It is useless to have many tools which you can't use. It's much better to have 2 or 3 tools which you're able to use. And that was kind of the problem for me. I had these tools that I thought I should be able to use because I had spent time with them, but in reality I didn't use them. So this was all about turning that thing into a useful tool and not just a tool that I had spent time getting but was unable to actually make use of. So hopefully this will help you not fall into that trap, and hopefully you'll be able to get started with some diminished stuff. And do remember, this is difficult for everybody in the beginning, so take it easy and just, try to play the first very basic example. If whatever I did all over the neck felt way too difficult, that's normal, and you don't even need that stuff. The best stuff is usually the slow melodic stuff anyway, so let it take some time and just have fun with the instrument, because that's really what matters in the end. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Chris Vidal, and you've been awesome. sticking with me here and watching throughout the whole video. Thank you so much. See ya.